New beekeepers, hard lesson to learn is beekeeping is a racket. I've been beekeeping for 9 years, and this is the second time in my 9 years that I've been having difficulty keeping my bees alive. I keep telling you it's the chemicals. And also this spring it's been the weather. See this colony here? This colony here just got a new queen 3 weeks ago. And I checked, that queen started laying like she should have. And a couple days ago when it was warm, it was in the 80s, I happened to notice the queen was here. And that's not normal, of course. So I went to get my container. And when I got back with my container, the queen was down here being balled by the colony. So I went ahead, I saved that queen, got her in a container. And I opened this hive. See, we're having another cool pattern again. So the bees are all in the hive right now. I opened up the hive. The colony's up here. There was 3 frames of brood and eggs. So that queen was doing a good job. I don't understand why they wanted to kill her. It doesn't make any sense to me. They're not acting right, and colonies are having a hard time coming back like they normally do. I've been watching this colony here for quite some time and taking extra care with it. It has not grown much. We're going to have temperatures in the 20s again for 2 nights in a row. There's some nurse bees there, some new bees, and they still have a queen, but they're not growing. This colony right here, by the size of it, they're going to have issues if they stay out overnight, so I'm going to be bringing them in. If I didn't bring my bees in when they were cold, I would not be able to maintain more colonies every year. I've lost 1/3 of my colonies this spring, but I still have more colonies than I had a year ago at this time. So it's going to be a difficult year to rebuild because all my colonies are behind a month. I'm not going to be able to do as many mating nukes as I normally do. I just want to try to maintain the large colonies that I have during the summer and try to maybe do a few queens to replace the queens. So let me show you a few things. It is the last week of April, and I'm packing my storage room, my shed full of bee stuff. And I know more than half of this stuff I'm not even going to use this year. So let me show you what's going on. You know, I love to write things down because I lose my train of thought. Like I said, new beekeepers, hard lesson to learn, beekeeping is a racket. How is it a racket? Well, the commercial beekeepers make a lot of money, and there's no reason to complain. This is what they do. And they start the year by going to the almonds in February out in California, and they make $200 plus per hive colony. And then after that, they do some other pollinating, March and April, and they make a little bit more money. I know this because I watch these documentaries that have interviews of these commercial beekeepers. And then April, May, a lot of those bees, majority of them, those old bees that were in that monoculture, they really aren't healthy anymore. They put them in packages, and they're not going to tell you this, because if they told you this, it would be dishonest, and people don't want to be honest when they're doing something scrupulous and unethical. But they're putting the old queens in the packages. I don't believe that the queen breeders can make enough queens every year to provide for every single package and every colony that a commercial beekeeper has. So it would be a complete loss of money for them to kill that queen. So what they do is they put it in a package. And who buys most of the packages every year? The hobbyists and backyard beekeepers. A commercial beekeeper told me a few years ago, a guy I was buying packages from, I asked him, how do you make up for your losses every year, from the Varroa mites and other issues? He said, by selling packages to people. So they're making money doing that. And then May and June, most of these commercial beekeepers, they go back to the home area, and sometimes it's not even their home area, and they just make honey for the rest of the year, not money. They make honey for the rest of the year. And then at the end of the year, they get ready, they build up their colonies to do it all over again. So, and also I want to say commercial beekeepers get the first pick of the season's new queens. And again, old queens are put in packages. They're sold as new queens, never killed. I don't believe they ever kill them. Here's the estimated income of a commercial beekeeper. This is just an average. This is what I estimate from my experience and from my research. They make up to about $300 pollinating at the beginning of the year, and then they make up to $100 selling packages. And then you got to remember, they make honey all year round. So probably on average, they make $200 per colony. So $600 for a good year, maybe a bad year, be $400. And they buy large numbers of queens from these queen breeders. So they get them really cheap. They're not paying the top dollar that you and I would pay. Of course, I haven't bought a queen since 2017. This is my situation here. The first 4 years I did treatment free. And I went from one colony to about 50 colonies. And then I started having issues the spring of 2017. I lost 90% of my colonies. So then I switched to, I want to try Russian bees. So I bought some queens, some foliage Russian bees. And I lost 75% of those before I got to the following spring. So 2018, after losing all those Russian queens, those Russian colonies, I decided I'm going back to breeding my own queens. And by the end of 2018, I had 22 colonies. Okay, and then now, 3 years later, or however you want to look at it, 4 years, 18, 19, 20, 21, 4 years, I had 154 colonies going into last winter. I've bought no queens since 2017. All queens have been bred by me. So, the reasons why honeybees die, well, I think it's the toxic chemicals, number one, and number two, the Varroa mites and other pests. And 3, the climate, the weather. Like we had a really cold spring and it slowed my colonies down. I couldn't get them restarted the end of winter like I wanted. And then 4, the monocultures, poor management. I gotta say, not getting my colonies started in the winter, I should have paid more attention to it. I figured, well, in March they're going to restart when the weather warms up. It didn't warm up, so I failed to manage my colonies properly. And the monoculture in the environment is not good for honeybees. They need different sources of pollen and the nectar, and all this monoculture is just full of toxic chemicals. It's in the wax, it's in the pollen, it's in the honey. My frames in my colonies are toxic. I realize that, but there's not much I can do about it. So last year, this is how last year went. I reached a total of 208 colonies. That included my mating colonies. And then at the end of August, I discontinued doing a lot of mating because I didn't have virgin queens or laying queens. And I had 170. And then robbing was very difficult. It's always very difficult in the fall with a number of bees in my area. I have 2 commercial beekeepers in my area, plus my bees here, all my breeding colonies. There's a lot of robbing going on. So I ended the fall, going into winter, I had 154 colonies. And all September I did oxalic acid, and I did acylic acid again end of December. And I don't see any Varroa mites in my colonies. My bees are dying from the weather and the toxic chemicals in the hive. They're dying because I didn't get restarted soon enough. I had 1 winter dead out during winter, which I thought was pretty good, but I didn't seem to realize my colonies not starting at the end of winter was going to cause issues later. So my colonies failed to start brood during late winter. And then during spring, we had a slow brood because we have a cold spring. So basically, I lost 1/3 of my colonies during spring. I'm down to about 101. There's no chance I'm going to lose all my bees. I'm just getting set back from where I was a year ago. It's not going to be, I'm not going to be able to double this year. I'm just going to try to maintain, get by this year, and be where I was, basically where I am right now. I want to be in that same situation next year, but with larger colonies, so that hopefully next year it will be better. So I'm not really sure how many colonies I'm going to have going into summer. I'm sure I'm going to lose more. I'm going to be under 100. I made 120 new colonies last year, and I know I'm not going to be able to repeat that. So, in summary, and then I'll show you something else real quick. In summary, large commercial beekeepers are making a lot of money as things are now, and the government's not going to help beekeepers because there's no reason to help beekeepers. The rich people that own these big corporate farms, they want things to continue as they are. They don't want these commercial beekeepers to stop pollinating. So the commercial beekeepers, they need the money. If they didn't go do the pollinating at these corporate farms, they would have no money at all because they're not getting any help. Crop farmers and dairy farmers get subsidies from the government. I call it welfare for farmers, but I have not been able to find any source of subsidies. And there's no financial help for me to keep my bees. And the government will not stop this adulterated honey that comes into the country. So that's another reason. It keeps the price of honey down because of all this adulterated honey. It's saturated with rice syrup and other types of syrup. And the government will not stop the use of toxic chemicals. I keep complaining, and I want these commercial beekeepers to do a pollinating strike. If everybody stopped pollinating these corporate farms and just stop doing that, we could get something done and they would stop using toxic chemicals. Honeybees and small beekeepers will continue to suffer in this current environment. Okay, I'll show you something else. Every time it warms up, I have issues with abscondings. And then here's a queen that I found on the deck yesterday afternoon, just before it started raining. And I was able to look at most of these colonies here, thinking, okay, she came out of one of these colonies. But most of these have queen excluders. Because I've had so many abscondings, I put queen excluders in the bottom and top. And sometimes you wish you didn't have warm weather, your bees would stay in the hive. But we're going to have temperatures in the 20s again, I'm telling you. And I'm getting ready to move these in. At the end of the day, all of these here, all these small colonies will get moved inside, including those over there. I do have some colonies that are doing just great, but then I have some that aren't doing very well. So I know I'm going to have bees going into summer, but the question is how many. You look over here, and I've got 19 colonies at a different location. Well, actually 18. I brought 6. I had 24, and I brought 6 of them back. See the small ones out there? So I'm being completely honest with you guys. All you guys that aren't financially set, don't invest a lot of money in honeybees. Don't get yourself in debt doing this because you're not going to make any money with the current situation. You're going to have bad years. You're going to have good years. I don't currently owe any money on any of this stuff, so I'm not hurting financially, and hopefully I can rebound. And my goal is to get enough honeybees so that I can make enough money to keep them. If you're going to have honeybees, you have to make money. If you don't make any money, what's the point? Well, I love honeybees. I'm always going to have honeybees. But if you people want to make money, you got to have enough of them in order to make any money to sustain yourself, okay? Thank you.